How Los Angeles became a hotbed for terrifying follow home robberies. Oh, this doesn't sound good. It's like, oh, no. They're following you home and then they're robbing you. I just got through working on a video. It had to go to the private channel. So if you want to check out the subscription channel, got some cool stuff on there. And oftentimes it's because we've got video footage or it's content or, there's something within it that makes it, it needs to be a little bit more private. So if you want to check out News for Reasonable People, our reasonabletv.com website, that's a paid subscription service. Got some cool content on there. One of the pieces that I just recorded was on bank jugging. And we had some crazy footage of people going into a bank, getting out their money, taking out their money. And while they're in there, one of two different groups are also in there. It's kind of the lookout for the bank, right? It's the lookout. It's the lookout guy. And he's communicating via his cell phone or whatever, texting, hey, check out this person coming out. I think they're loaded. I think they've got whatever. And then what they do is they wait till that person leaves the bank parking lot oftentimes, and they'll rob them wherever they can get to them and take all their money. And bank jugging. Yeah. So they go to where they know people are going to be withdrawing money. Oftentimes it's jewelers, people who deal in cash, people who got to do deposits, take cash out, whatever it is. Some crazy stuff. So how LA became a hotbed for terrifying follow home robberies. Got a story here. I'm not going to read you the whole story, but Charles Martin, he's 27. He's in a coma. He's able to move his limbs and his eyes. Yeah, he got shot on one of these follow home robberies, and there's this big story. And he's a good guy. He played football, outstanding person, but he got shot on one of these follow home robberies. His life is just done. In many cases, the victims are not even having a chance to comply and hand over their valuables, Captain Jonathan Tippett, head of LAPD's Follow Home Robbery Task Force, told the Post. They are being attacked, punched, hit, and pistol whipped. See, you've got these criminals that know that the repercussions for their actions are slim to none. And so the real question is, why aren't there more of these happening? Why aren't there more of these? I mean, these guys are so busy out doing their criminal activity because they know if they get caught, and the odds of them getting caught are not great. They're not high because we're seeing so much of this activity. Police are doing the best they can. We're having these task force created, the Follow Home Robbery Task Force. That tells you how often this stuff is happening. We've literally got a task force called the Follow Home Robbery Task Force. I mean, how specific is that? Followed you home from the bank on, 6th and Pine. It's the only way you could be even more specific. It's like, all right, it's happening at this bank and they're going home to this neighborhood. Let's do a task force for the whole thing. It's wild, right? Follow Home Robbery Task Force. It makes sense because you got so much, there's demand for it, right? So you're going to supply the officers to cover that beat, cover that crime, whatever it is. But the individuals are being tackled, punched, hit, and pistol whipped. I mean, it's just brute force, using brute force. And you know what? That works. On the video I just recorded for the bank jugging, towards the end of the sequence, towards one of the end of the videos, had this big black dude. I mean, I don't know how tall he was, but he looked pretty hefty. And he's like, yeah, I was in the Marines for 8 years. I'm pretty tough. I don't think they're going to mess with me. And all I could think of is, well, if you're going into a bank, you don't have a gun, more than likely. And if you come back out and you don't have a gun, even if you are the biggest, baddest dude on the planet, if the guy out in the parking lot waiting for you, or the guy, wherever he's going to follow you to, maybe it's home, if he has a gun, doesn't matter how big and bad you are. Now, you're going to try and block those bullets? I don't think so. You're going to do some kung fu? No, you're not. You're going to get shot, and then your toughness, it's going to unravel in the hospital, and that sucks. One of the suspects shot Martin, the kid we're talking about, in the head after he tried to stop the robbers, according to Detective Darren Dupree of the LAPD Robbery Homicide Special Section. When we got the call that night, we thought Christopher was not going to make it, said Dupree, noting that the young man's survival has surpassed medical expectations, which is both good and bad. That means that he had something so horrific happen to him that they thought he was going to die. And he probably should have died, right? He's outliving the odds they gave him. But it also means he took a bullet to the head. He's probably not going to recover. You know what I mean? I mean, even if he's functional, whatever that might mean, that guy's life is ruined. Over how much money did he have? The respect for life has become very minimal. It's become the lowest common denominator, which is, I don't care who I rob, as long as I get my money. As long as I get my money by Friday. That's the landlord in George Thorogood, I Drink Alone song, right? So a star athlete who played college football on full scholarship for UC Davis, Martin came from San Diego to LA on April 15th to celebrate the birthday of a former UC Davis football player whom he had mentored. Oh, guy's doing a good deed. He's going to see his buddy play ball. I mean, yeah, what do you say, right? Coming from San Diego, Christopher may not have realized what the temperature is here, said Dupree, referring to the crime wave. It's hot. So what this officer is saying, is he a detective? I think he was a detective, is that he didn't know that, hey, things are really rough here, and you got to be checking over your shoulder. You got to know where you are. Maybe he was walking in an area he shouldn't have been, but they're outwardly saying, hey, this guy came from San Diego, so he's not used to what we're used to dealing with here. It's kind of like in San Francisco, I covered, and we had video footage of the robbery that happened there, of a couple having their wedding photography photos taken at the Marine Park, right by the Marina area in San Francisco, famous park. And, a couple of hooded up guys came to steal his backpack and came to steal his camera. And he put up a fight. He was like, tussling with his bag. Come to find out, he's from Dallas. Whereas everybody in these cities, like if something happens to me here you go, here's my wallet. I'm probably just going to give it up. Because I've read so many stories about, well, there was a tussle and the guy took a bullet to the noggin. And I'd rather not have that happen. But down in Texas, you fight back. And that's fair. But you don't have the crime in Texas. You don't have this kind of stuff going on because people fight back and have guns and might shoot you back. But you come in and out of, an environment, you come into a new environment, you don't know what the deal is. You don't know what the temperature is. So you got to figure that out. Unfortunately, this guy wasn't able to figure it out because he got shot in the head. In 2021, the LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division noticed a surge of robberies involving multiple armed suspects coordinating to ambush victims. According to Tippett, he said that up to 18 gangs from South LA are involved. You know what? We hear about all this crime. We never say the G word, do we? No, we don't. Because we're too afraid of the repercussions from singling out, specific crime perpetrators. We're like, I don't want to be caught up in that. I don't want to be accused of racism. But here we are. 18 gangs from South LA are involved. In my 34 years with the LAPD, I have never seen this type of criminal behavior. And that's what it feels like is going on out there. These criminals just have the green light. They have the green light in so many different aspects of life, activities in life. You got people robbing convenience stores. You got people organized retail theft, walking out of Home Depot, walking out of Target, walking out of Walmart with just baskets and loads of stuff. And they're going to take it to that guy with the van out back. He's going to load it up and he's going to give them their 20, 30 bucks, whatever. Maybe, whatever their prearranged deal is. And they're going to go on. You've got people going in, stealing stuff in people's homes. I mean, just look on Nextdoor if you're in a community this is happening. And I live in a pretty safe community, what has historically been a very safe community of Bellevue. I'm like 10 miles away from Seattle. I'm a bridge and a body of water separated from the, criminal shenanigans in Seattle proper. And yet I am seeing more and more stories of Nextdoor. And I'm having conversations with my neighbors that I normally wouldn't have. One of the guys that I don't know very well in my cul-de-sac, he's got a roofing company. And he is like, hey, can you help me out here? And I'm like, oh, what are we going to do here? He's like, hey, can you just take a look at this footage? I got this lady walking around up and down my driveway. Did you see anything like this at like 6:30 yesterday? And I was like, no, but I'll keep my eye out. So now I've got, cameras. I've got the Wise cameras. I've got those pointing in all kinds of different directions. My doors are covered. I've got them inside. I mean, it's just kind of what you do, because there's so many stories out there. There's so many Nextdoor stories out there of this happened. Be careful. But then, you go to some cities and that kind of thing doesn't happen. Had that conversation with somebody in a comment on one of the YouTube videos today. He's like, yeah, my city is known for this, this, and this. And, we haven't had a rise in crime. We don't have the shoplifting. None of the stuff in our community, in our stores is locked up. Weird, right? That must be a coincidence. And so we're kind of joking. Well, it's just a coincidence. I'm sure it had nothing to do with your leadership. Had nothing to do with your judicial system in your area. It's just a coinky-dink. Live your life. You're doing good. Yeah. But I bet it's boring in your community. I mean, without all this crime going on, what do you even read about in the news? What do you even do? Yeah. Grandma's playing bridge, eating ice cream. I mean, yeah. No, give anybody a safe community. That's all we hope for. That's all we want, right? But with this stuff going on out here, and this story, obviously, the hook is, hey, the guy got shot in the head from a follow you home type robbery. That's the stuff that, parents' worst nightmare is your kid. And I call this kid a kid, but he is. He's the same age as my youngest kid, 27. And, you envision that happening to your kid and you're like, oh man, horrible. So in my 34 years with the LAPD, I have never seen this type of criminal behavior, said Tippett, with people in larger groups, up to 5 carloads of individuals, and most of them appear to be armed, coordinating amongst themselves to target people. So that's what you've got going on. And you've got it going on because the system allows it. The system has given them so much free range and so much leeway. And if they do get busted, how much time are they going to do? Probably none. And that's, even if they get convicted, you're seeing some stuff for more harsh crimes. But the fact that this stuff is going on at the velocity that it is, that doesn't happen when you're taking people off the streets consistently, does it? No, it doesn't. So that's kind of your proof right there. Well, but yeah, gun violence is pretty much down across the United States. So, I mean, it's all good, right? No, it's not good because the crime numbers, theft numbers, robbery numbers, you look at those and you go, oh, okay, well, what's changed with society? Well, we know what's changed. You got this. Here you are. Not shocking, right? There have been 254 follow home attacks since January of 2021. So in less than a year, 254 follow home attacks. Tippett said, with 165 occurring in 2021, 111 of them in the final 4 months of last year, and 89 this year to date. So 111 to 89. All right. So it's gone down a little bit. It's gone down by 20? Yeah. The fact that you've still got 89 going on. Be interesting to know, prior to the pandemic, how many follow home robberies would you have in LA? I don't even know. But what I'm seeing in the media and what I'm reading and what I'm hearing about from police officers is that these types of crimes have escalated. And it's because there's no reason they shouldn't escalate. There's no, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. Well, there's no time. So do the crime. You know what I mean? It's kind of like cause and effect. How do we get here? Well, here's how we got here. Alarmed by the trend, Tippett established the Follow Home Robbery Task Force in late November 2021. Now, that's the guy. This is the guy that's responsible for this whole task force on, all right, your guys' job is to make sure people get home safely and don't get robbed. And we're going to call the name of your outfit just that. Neighborhoods hit hardest are downtown LA, Hollywood, and the Wilshire district, including Melrose, a high-end shopping area. Remember Melrose Place? That was a great show. I used to watch that with my wife. We loved that show. It was a good show. They had the swimming pool, and everybody's out by a swimming pool, and everybody's beautiful, and it was a good show. It was a solid show. And then we had what was that Housewives show? Housewives of whatever. What was the? I forget the first Housewives shows. You know what I'm talking about. They're all just really bitchy housewives, but they're all beautiful. Eva Longoria was in there. Yeah. Television, right? Victims have frequently been tourists, including those from Israel, Korea, the UK, Australia, Maryland, Florida, Philadelphia, and Detroit, said Tippett. Now, anywhere where somebody comes in from the outside who isn't aware of their surroundings, they're a target. And why wouldn't you hit them up? They're just like, I didn't know a follow home, robbery was, going to look like this. Tough go, right? Can you imagine flying in from Australia? You imagine flying in from Maryland? How about Korea? How about you fly in from Korea? I mean, talk about cultural shock. Things different there. Yeah. Are you going to get robbed there? How about Israel? How about the UK? I read some wild news stories out of the UK. I got to give the UK, some due where due is deserved. There's some wild stuff just wild news stories coming out of the UK. I don't read a lot of them because you, the audience, don't seem to care. You want to read about stuff in the US going sideways. If it's another continent, if it's another country, don't care. We want to keep our crime local. Fair enough. You know what I mean? The LAPD has seen some reduction in the numbers of follow home robberies, especially those with so many vehicles involved, with 86 taking place in the first 4 months of this year. According to Tippett, the follow home crime surge is attributable, at least in part, to reluctance on the part of the office of LA County District Attorney George Gascon to seek the stiffest possible sentences for suspected gang members. This annoys me to no end. We tried to do Citizens LA tried to do a recall on George Gascon, right? And he made it through. George Gascon, not doing your community a favor. Not doing your community a favor. Got to throw these people in jail, throw them in jail for a long time, get them off the streets, allow the system kind of come back to whatever that equilibrium point is. But right now, the equilibrium point is so skewed towards high violence and these incidences happening that we don't even really know what normal is anymore. That's the way I see it. So he's moved to deny gang and gun enhancements provisions, allowing prosecutors to seek longer prison sentences for gang-related crime or crime that causes grave bodily injury. Meanwhile, state policies have reduced bail requirement. So you got this double whammy. Yeah, we're not going to prosecute you. And yeah, bail? What's that? Who needs that? No cash bail system, Chicago. Let's just go there. I mean, if you can't afford the bail, then you're going to have to stay in jail. Okay, so now we're calling that racism. And so we're just going to do away with the system. There's got to be a happy medium in there because what we've got going on right now is not working. And until the community members realize this and, do an actual recall on a DA like George Gascon, expect stuff to kind of just keep moving forward, right? So state policy is allowing violent criminals to post bail and not return to court for months. And during that time, we know many are committing violent crimes. So you've got these huge windows of opportunity as far as time with these criminals go, where they're out there and everybody knows it. They're just committing crimes willy-nilly because the odds of them getting caught on, criminal activity number 2, 3, 4, and 5, well, they've been doing it for a long time and they've had pretty good luck. So, and plus this is how they support themselves. They support their, whatever. So yeah, this is how you get there, right? We've rearrested some individuals who were out on bail after they've committed the same types of violent crimes. We read about that all the time. Somebody being out on bail and getting popped again. Well, this is what they do. And they know, the only way you can have so many people with such extensive criminal records is that you're just never incarcerating them anymore. You're just not doing that. And you got to start doing that in order to get some of these folks off the street and let the system kind of get back to normal, whatever that might be. So this social justice reluctance to utilize existing law to seek the stiffest sentences possible for violent crime suspects reflects a stinging irony when the majority of victims of the violent follow-home gang robbery trends have been minorities. It's kind of like Black Lives Matter just going through and, burning up a bunch of businesses, breaking into businesses. And what percentage of those were owned by the BIPOC community? Yeah, some. That's just heartbreaking, right? Somebody works really hard to get ahead, get their store going, get their business going, and then, just get everything rocked, get their windows rocked, have their inventory taken, all that crazy stuff. It makes no sense. So you've got these victims that are coming from this community that we're trying to protect by not incarcerating people from said communities committing the crimes. This seems like a vicious circle, doesn't it? And it is, right? Hispanics, Blacks, and Asians account for 62% of the victims of these violent armed gang robberies. Well over half. We're going to say the majority of them are Hispanic, Black, and Asian. Gascon he's saying he's bringing social justice, but he isn't bringing safety and protection for the minorities. He's just letting them hang out to dry. So I think we've been down this road. I think we're recognizing what's going on, but it's one of those things. Like I always say, make that vote count. Because if you're not, expect much of the same. All right. So then we keep on going, kind of goes into some of the more details about what happens with these types of situations and who gets in trouble, who doesn't. Most jewelers keep quiet about this because they don't want the publicity, keeps customers out of the store talking about getting robbed. Most jewelers are scared to death. And this goes for weed stores as well. Weed stores, because they've got enormous amounts of cash on them a lot of the time. Some of them use kind of this ATM system. I'm not sure how they get away with it, but it's been kind of a workaround. But you've got a whole bunch of different industries out there that are wildly vulnerable to this stuff because they're being targeted. Now people are being targeted for walking home. And more than half, over 60%, are communities, are members of the BIPOC community or they're minorities in Los Angeles, and this is happening to them. So you've got this real duplicity going on. Real duplicity. All right, we don't want them to go to jail, but we also don't care about their safety. So somebody's going to get the short end of the stick, and it's regular tax-paying citizens that are just getting hammered. Whether it's these folks who've got the follow-home robberies, and you've got the bank jugging, people working at 7-Eleven, people working at Target. All right, I guess we'll just let you go with your big cart filled with goods. All that stuff just happening on the daily, right? Yeah. And it'll continue to happen until you make those votes count. But it seems like most of the folks that live in these areas, they recognize that things are not good, but they're not willing to make the commitment to a political candidate who does a tough stance on crime. We're just not there yet. Not there yet. It's not happening yet. So expect most of this to continue. Expect to see these elevated numbers for a while because everything kind of cycles through, right? Well, let's hope we get some solutions to this one sometime soon. We need a tougher stance on crime. That's bottom line. Need a tougher stance on crime throughout all these communities. Got to start throwing some people in jail, making some harsh sentences. But, LA, not happening. Not happening now. All right. That's it for me. Thanks so much for being here. Don't forget to check out our Discord channel, Reasonable Plus. If you like to subscribe and support what I do, reasonabletv.com. Thanks again. We'll catch up on the next one. Bye for now.